Today is Thursday, September 14th, and we're doing Around the Bases with our MLB insider at the New York Post, Jon Heyman. Jon, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you, Ryan?
I'm doing well. We're going to start off with our top story here. The Texas Rangers lose their ace, Max Scherzer. Obviously, Scherzer was acquired before the deadline by the New York to the Rangers from the New York Mets, and a huge deal. Obviously, this is a tough blow for the Texas Rangers. You know, they've been fighting the injury bug a little bit lately, and this one just takes the cake. I mean, if you're looking at the Texas Rangers now and the way they're seeing how their season's going, they went for it, but they parted with a pretty highly touted prospect to the New York Mets in Luis Angel Acuna, Ronald Acuna's brother. How do you value this trade right now? And do you think the Texas Rangers might regret that move?
Yeah, I don't think they do. I admire the fact that they have gambled. They have gone for it, starting with last year with signing Semien and Seager and Gray, and now this year. And at the deadline, I thought they did great. I mean, they got Montgomery, they got Stratton. Before the deadline, they got Chapman. He's been up and down a bit, but Scherzer did provide some wins. They're barely in front in the playoff race right now. So I don't think they regret it because they do want to get into the playoffs. That is their goal. And obviously, Luis Angel Acuna is a very good prospect. I don't think he's going to be Ronald Acuna Jr., who is, but I do think he has the potential to be an all-star from what I understand. And sort of the Mets are very happy with their end of the deal. I think the Mets did the right thing at the deadline. I think they did very, very well. But I don't think the Texas regrets it. They're right now barely ahead in that race, which is tough in the American League. Look, one of those teams between Toronto, Seattle, and Texas and Houston is not going to make it. I think Houston will make it. So one of those other three teams probably not going to be in the playoffs, or definitely not going to be in the playoffs. So it's a tough battle. They've gone for it. Scherzer did do well for them while he was pitching. And, it's a little bit of a coincidence. It's that Terrace Major, same thing that Verlander started the season with. Now Scherzer ending the season with it. Unfortunate, but no regrets, I don't believe, by Texas.
Yeah, it's funny. We talk about the Texas Rangers, obviously, and you mentioned they've been battling the AL wildcard. They just swept the Blue Jays. I mean, they're doing good damage this week, obviously, and that was a big series for them. But it's a tough blow, obviously, and we'll see how it plays out for them for the rest of the season. Jon, let's pivot and go to Ronald Acuna Jr.'s team, the Atlanta Braves. They are on pace to break the Minnesota Twins record from 2019 for a single season most home runs hit by a ball club. This lineup 1 through 9 is deep. They can hit home runs all at every pretty much position in that lineup. They have 3 guys who are 35 home runs or more. When you look at this lineup, and obviously they just clinched the NL East last night for the 6th straight season. When you look at this lineup that they put together in Atlanta, is this one of the best lineups that you've seen in your time covering baseball?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the best I've seen. I would still say if I had to pick one, I might go with the old Guardians, or what they were called the Indians back then, when Manny Ramirez was batting 7th or 8th, and they had Tomey, they had Bell, they had Baerga. They had outstanding offense up and down that lineup. Did not end up winning the World Series, got to the World Series in 95 and 97 with that dynamic lineup. So I might lean that way, but I could see a case made for the Braves. They're fantastic. 282 home runs, already set the National League record for home runs. Only the Twins are ahead 2019. There were a lot of home runs hit in 2019, not to diminish what the Twins did, but I think the Braves even more impressive up and down that lineup. Acuna Jr. right now in a dead heat, I would say, with bets for MVP. Olsen tied the franchise record, 51 home runs of Andruw Jones. And obviously, Austin Riley hit his 35th. They're going to be the first team ever to have 4 guys with 35 once Marcell Ozuna hits 1 more home run. Rosario can see this year after his eye surgery. I mean, Ozuna's back. Who would have thought that Arcia would be an all-star? I mean, no one thought he was even going to make the team, and he became the starting shortstop. Every decision they have made is good. And what's really weird about this team is they did nothing in free agency. When I say nothing, well, they did sign Jordan Luplow for $1.4 million, and he was placed on waivers, and that's it. And, if that's their regrettable move, okay, fine, $1.4 million. All those deals they signed to all those homegrown players, they all look great right now. And obviously the trade for Sean Murphy was great. Great job all around by Alex Anthopoulos and the Braves. And I mean, to think now that the Mets and the Braves tied last year with 101 wins, and the Braves are, what are they, 27 games ahead of them, I think, right now?
Yeah.
Something like that, right? So it's amazing. Good job by the Braves, and they are the prohibitive favorite. No guarantees there, but they are the favorite going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't even mention guys like Michael Harris, who's having actually a bounce back year this well as well too, following up his rookie of the year. I mean, you talk about you got Albies. I mean, these guys are just they're so talented 1 through 9 in that lineup. 28 and a half games above the Mets coming into today
Oh,
in the NL
28 and a
East.
half. Yeah,
It's
wow.
they're dominating baseball. Every night I look at the score, I'm like, well, there go the Braves just beating up on anyone. It doesn't matter. They'll be up 6-1 and it's the first or second inning, and they just jump on you right away.
Yeah,
Uh,
132 runs in the first inning. I mean, that's the most in decades. There have been a couple teams that have topped that, but who knows? You still got almost a month to go, or at least 3 weeks to go. Maybe they'll set the record there too, or come close to it.
It's crazy. But sticking in the National League, John, let's go to our next topic. The Cy Young race. It is a tight race. There's really no clear-cut favorite unless you do have someone that you have in mind that is the favorite for you to win the NL Cy Young. Who is it?
I would say right now it's probably Snell. It's to me between Snell and Steele, and you can make a case for either one. And you could throw Gallen in there, who's probably running third, and I guess Strider probably fourth. If you really love strikeouts, you might go for Strider. But to me, it's about run prevention. And I understand there's expected run prevention, but if we get in those weeds, I mean, are we going to say hard hit rate is going to be the MVP? No, it's actually what you produce. And right now, Snell is the ERA leader. He is the WAR leader among pitchers in the National League. He's up there in many, many categories. Strikeouts, he's only behind Strider. Hits per 9, he's leading. So right now, Snell's the leader in my mind. Someone wants to make a case for Steele. I get it. Steele's been fantastic. He's got a lot of wins, and his win-loss percentage is outstanding. And the wins has been diminished over the recent years, but his ERA is right behind him at 2.49 compared to 2.43. So he's certainly still in the mix. And one or two bad starts could make a difference. One thing I did hear someone said on behalf of Snell is he is in the NL West compared to the NL Central. The divisions, the schedules aren't as imbalanced as they used to be, but certainly if you're in the West, you're facing slightly better offensive teams.
Right.
Central, the best team is Milwaukee, and their offense is basically just average.
No, it's a great point. And I think also with Zach Gallen, a guy who I thought was pinning a late charge into it.
Yeah.
He had a rough night last night. Obviously, the Mets touched him up for 6 runs. They got him out of that game. And, that probably hurt his chances at the Cy Young. So you see Snell and Steele, and I agree. Those guys are right there.
Yeah, not probably. You lose to the Mets, you hurt your chances at this point. No, the Mets they're trying, and they're doing a little bit better than they were earlier. But certainly every start counts. Gallen is right up there in innings with Brandon Webb. He's having an outstanding year. He's certainly in the discussion. But as you saw, I had a discussion there by myself just now, or a soliloquy, and he was a very small part of it. Right now, Snell's the leader. And look, he won in the American League too, so he's going to be, for the Rays, he'll be one of those rare guys to win in both leagues. Gaylord Perry, I recall doing it, but it's pretty rare.
Yeah, and he'll be a free agent at the end of the year, so maybe he'll get a big payday off of it as well. John, let's bring this all home. Disappointing team of the week. Who is it?
Well, you know what? There's no 1-9 team this week, which is a surprise. I always look at that on the standings and find an 0-10 or a 1-9 team, or at the worst 2-8 team, or the best, however you want to look at it. This week, it's not going to go by wins and losses. I'm going to pick the Nats. What they are doing with Stephen Strasburg is unthinkable, almost unconscionable, really crazy. They had it set up a retirement ceremony for him with a press conference. They were going to announce at a later date, next year, presumably, the retirement of his number will be done, and Ring of Honor, whatever they call it there, all that stuff going to be done. He had his friends, family all ready to go, and it was called off. We don't know exactly sure what happened, who changed their mind, who decided what, but certainly when he had agreed to do this retirement, he was of the impression that they were going to pay off his contract, which is their obligation. He has a guaranteed contract. Unfortunately, he had the thoracic outlet syndrome, had the surgery, ramped it up in January, looked pretty good. Then it did not look good, and he's been trying. He's been going to physical therapy. Doctors have told him, look, you're not going to be able to pitch, and it's not going to be good for you if you continue to try for your life. So I think everybody understands this, and maybe the Nats want him to agree to do some appearances, or I don't know. Their press release where they said, we love Stephen Strasburg, and then whatever, but they're basically canceling the press conference, kind of denying that they ever had a press conference, and then said, we're going to welcome you to spring training. I hope they meant as a guy who's going to come in there and teach some of the younger guys and show up and talk to the fans or something like that. At the most, he's certainly not going to be able to pitch. The doctors have made that clear, and it looked like, to me, it looked like a threat. Why include that in the press release? You know, if you've got to cancel the press conference, that's fine. I get it. You don't want media showing up when there's no press conference, and you don't want his family showing up. I get that, but I did not get that kind of challenge to him at the end of it to say, you're going to be in spring training, come to spring training, because frankly, the doctors have told him he can't pitch. They understand this, and this is why they set up the press conference in the first place. So hopefully, and we would think, presumably, they will get this resolved. He will be retired. His number will be retired. He will be honored. He will be in the Ring of Honor, or whatever they call it down there in Nats Park. And we'll let bygones be bygones. But right now, it's not a good look at all for what they're doing.
No, it's not. It's a weird and just horrible situation. I mean, Strasburg, you just remember the last image, guy helped you win a World Series, and obviously it's tough blow for him in his career, obviously ending short. He didn't want it to end, obviously.
No, absolutely not.
You know what I mean? No. And it feels weird that you like you said, schedule that press conference and then you cancel it, and then all that, like, it feels messy.
I get that they're going to be upset, not at him, but upset at the situation. They weren't able to get insurance, as in many of these cases you cannot get. I believe Texas was not able to do it with DeGrom, and I get it. If you're the insurer, you know, you'd be paying an arm and a leg, no pun intended, at this point. So it's difficult to get insurance. We know the history of these pitching injuries. They took a gamble. They knew it was a risk when they took it, and they're going to have to live with it. But I get being upset. If you're the owner of the team, it's $235 million that you've spent that didn't work. But try to look at it as you just said, which is he was the World Series MVP. He brought the championship to Nats Park, to the Nats. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
He was almost unhittable in those playoffs, certainly in the World Series. And, you know, you gave him the contract. You were partly seemed like a reward for what he had done, but certainly he was in his early 30s, and the hope was that he would continue to go forward. He was fantastic at the end of that 2019 season, and certainly had high hopes. And no, not all of them work out. Some of your deals work out great. You made the right decision with Rendon. I don't know about Harper. He's doing pretty well in Philly, but, you know, sometimes you make a great decision. Sometimes you don't. And very unfortunate. I am glad to see they got Mike Rizzo done. I wonder, with all the bad publicity and the Washington Post writing that, well, the owner should sell the team, you know, they were kind of backed into the corner that they had to get it done. I'm not sure why it took so long and why it was so close for so long, but he did get his 2 years with an option. So good for Mike Rizzo. And at least they did that correctly.
Yeah. He got Rizzo and Davey Martinez locked up for a couple more years. So that seems to be their future right there. John, I appreciate you as always for going around the base with us and giving us all your insight. Hope you have a good one, man.
All right, Ryan. Great talking to you. See you later.